Welcome to Neighborhood Narratives, where we spotlight local authors across South Florida and the stories that shape our communities.
Meet Melba Morel of Poetic Nectar Collective, author of Unplanted yet Flourishing, a reflective and uplifting collection of resilience, faith, healing, and growth through uncertain seasons. Rooted in her personal struggles with infertility, the book expands into larger reflections on grief, hope, purpose, and transformation. Thank you so much for joining us today, Melba.
Of course.
Okay, so Melba, again, thank you for joining us and being a longtime supporter of us. So before we talk about the book itself, can you tell us a little more about the journey that led you to writing Unplanted yet Flourishing?
Sure. When I was going through my struggles with infertility, I felt very alone, and I felt like I was the only person going through it. I started sharing some of my poetry with my friends, and they encouraged me to put out my words, and they told me that people will resonate with it. Mm-hmm. And I finally got the courage to do it, and I was able to be vulnerable, and that's what started the journey.
Shout out to your friends.
Right?
Thank you.
We need good friends to encourage us.
Yes, we do.
How did spirituality or religion shape your expectations of healing, motherhood, grief, or resilience?
For spirituality, I think it's definitely embedded in me with my writing, and that helps me release. It helps me. I feel like in order for me to write, like God's inside me, helping me guide me through all of this. And without spirituality, I don't think I would have been able to write this book. Yes.
Yeah, like with reading the book, I noticed that many of the poems, you can feel you kind of grapple with moments when faith felt supportive, but also moments when other people kind of use faith as a way to help, but not really help at the same time.
Yes.
Can you speak to that?
Sure. I think religion and spirituality are two different things. I think how you connect with God is really on you. Sometimes people find it through religion, but I find it through creativity. And I've always felt like a calling to create. And I feel like that's God speaking through me. And that's the way that I've been able to heal, become, and move through my grief is through creating things. And I feel that's the way I connect with God.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like through my throughout the journey, people have pushed religion a lot on me, which can sometimes feel a little bit like uncomfortable for me, just because I don't fully relate with everything that religion has to offer me. That's not how I connect with God.
Yeah. And I relate to that. I feel like a lot of the time religion, the institution, can put people in boxes, right? And some of your poems, one of my favorite poems that you wrote kind of speaks to that, especially when it comes to expectations with motherhood and like women's bodies and the function of our bodies. Religion definitely plays a role in creating that shame, or if you're not living up to those expectations or those really high standards, then some people who are religious would say that you're not enough.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You're not fulfilling your purpose.
Exactly. I've
But
heard
only
that
you
a
can
lot.
set your
I've heard that one a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I really appreciate the work that you've done in incorporating another way to look at faith and your relationship with God, to kind of eliminate those feelings of shame.
Exactly.
Agreed.
It definitely helped me release a lot of the shame that I had with religion. And also it helped me feel vulnerable, because I think we struggle with that a lot as women of color. But being vulnerable is not something that is known in our culture. So definitely it helped me a lot.
Yeah.
We are not allowed to be vulnerable because we're already perceived as weak. So we try to like flip the narrative when really we're just harming ourselves. And like what other people perceive as weakness is strength. Just want to add to that.
I 100% agree with you. I think people think strength is like, you know, you is fighting through things, but strength is actually letting go and being vulnerable and letting people really see you. I think that's real strength.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah.
So in Journey 3 and 4, you speak on the power of relationships and support systems. And what do you wish more people understood about supporting someone through grief, fertility, and emotional hardship?
I think sometimes people are not cautious with the words that they use when they ask questions and when they assume things. I think as kind of taking your time and putting yourself in maybe that person's place, or even like maybe just looking things up a little bit before you assume and ask the question. I think that helps a lot, because I felt like people would make comments that have been very hurtful. And I've had to like just navigate through it, especially because it's family or it's friends. I think sometimes people can be insensitive. So just taking your time, maybe when you ask someone a question or where you make a comment, I think it's important.
Do you feel comfortable like sharing a few examples of what is a sensitive question that you receive, only for like, you know, viewers or listeners to think about what the words they say about anyone going through a journey of infertility?
I think mostly it has been like people assume that you haven't tried certain things. They're like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Why don't you adopt? Why don't you do this? I feel overwhelmed by like I'm like, I literally have tried everything, and like I think people assume that I haven't. So that assumption that I haven't tried everything, I literally wrote a book about it. It can be hurtful sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's that unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everything.
Yeah, it's the unsolicited advice,
For
you know,
sure.
because it's like people just come out of the woodwork with this advice when they're not obviously, you know, in that person's shoes, or even if they were, it's like, I didn't come to you to ask for advice. I came for emotional support or a distraction. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been at family parties where like family members have like literally touched my stomach and prayed over me, and I didn't ask for that, and I just felt so uncomfortable. I like literally be in the middle of the room and everyone's like sitting there praying. I'm like, what's going on right now?
I did not ask for this.
Oh my God.
And some people's prayers, I'm not accepting some people's
This might be a controversial opinion, but unsolicited prayers is not as helpful as people think, because I don't know where your intentions are, where your energies are.
Where your energy is.
You know, that's why I've like taken to like asking people, but I don't want to be that person like you always gotta ask. I don't know. It's like a battle. Yeah.
It is a battle.
There's something to say with asking. Unmuted event that we did with Renee Bracey Sherman. She had brought up, and somebody confides in you that they might be pregnant, right? Instead of getting excited or instead of questioning, ask them like, okay, how do you feel about that?
Yes.
You know, instead of just jumping to the emotion that you might feel for yourself.
Exactly.
And I feel like that can be the case across the board, especially like with most situations. I feel like you can apply that too.
I
You know,
agree
just
with
check
you.
in with people, ask how people are feeling, instead of going to the extreme and having them in the middle of the room doing a prayer.
Oh my gosh.
That is kind of intense.
Yeah,
Everyone
it's a
starts
lot.
chanting.
Another one of my favorite poems was The Cost of Hope. And in that poem, you unpack the limitations that the world puts on our bodies, especially when it comes to like being pregnant or having a child, also being a financial privilege.
It is a financial privilege for sure. I put myself in some debt trying to have a baby. So it's not free here in Florida. Back home, actually, in New Jersey, it was like covered by my insurance, but here it's not. So I put myself in a lot of financial debt because of that. And people don't realize, try IVF. Yeah, but you don't realize the IVF costs $40,000, you know, a round, and you have to do multiple rounds. The first round doesn't work. So
Is it $40,000 per round?
For the first round, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think they quoted me, it was like 43,
Wow.
to be exact.
So, kind of tying to that, I also appreciate that you, in the back of the book, you have a list of resources as well, because I think it speaks to not only acknowledging like the financial limitations, but just acknowledging in general the lack of support, you know, that we have like structurally and personally. So can you speak a little bit to, and we can get more into it. I have a question, another question related to it, but why you decided to start the Poetic Nectar Collective? Why include the resources?
Sure. So when I originally told you that my friends were the one that pushed me to write the book, and one of my friends actually has poems that were similar to mine, and that you'll see in the book. And that I'm like, wow, I'm not alone in this. Other people actually write about this. So how can I start something to help other people? And then I went kind of down a rabbit hole, and I started joining all these groups. And I felt like it was a lot of trauma bonding, and I couldn't relate. So I was like, oh no, it's like, this is not for me. So let me create something for myself that I can share with other people. And that's why I created a Poetic Nectar. It's evolved to other things now, but that was my objective. It was more like, how can I find, yes, we're grieving, but we're also overcoming this, and there's a life after this. It's not, let's just like share our sad stories together. There's more to life
I like that approach.
than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's helped me start Poetic Nectar.
In the final journey in your book, you use nature to reflect your feelings of acceptance with your experience. Nature seems to remind us that there isn't just one correct to nurture, love, heal, or build family, despite how society frames it. So, what has nature taught you about healing and the different ways we can care for one another and create meaningful lives?
I think nature is imperfect, and we still love it. Nature goes, you'll see it here in Florida. We go to hurricanes, and somehow nature comes and recovers. So I think that's what I want people to take from it. Yeah, they can be a tree can break, but it can bond again, and so can we. So I want people to take that away from nature, that yes, there's disaster, yes, there's things that go wrong, but it can heal and it can come back together, and it's beautiful. And we'll go outside after a storm, and look how beautiful it is after a storm. It's probably the most beautiful skies you ever see.
And as long as we treat it well too. So to your metaphor, treating ourselves with care. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
She's like, I put that in there. We wanted to know if you would be willing to read, I guess, your favorite poem from the collection.
I would say my favorite poem is This Body Is Not a Failure. Okay, I'll read it for you guys. They call it infertility, as if my body is a machine that won't start, as if I am a field that refused to bloom. They count what my body has not done, but they do not count the ways it has carried me. This body breathes and it bends. This body has held hands, built strength, danced in the rain. This body has known pleasure, laughter, and long walks under the sun. This body is not broken. This body is not a failure.
Yes, I love
Thank
that.
you.
And I think that like perfectly sums up the book, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So one of the other questions we would like to ask is, in Journey 4, where you talk about being at the family gathering and sharing your story, essentially what risk comes with vulnerability, especially in culture or communities where silence is expected? What does breaking silence make possible personally and collectively?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think being vulnerable is tough in our culture, but it's needed, because how else are our stories going to be passed down? How else are people going to know our struggles and what we've been through if we are not saying it out loud and passing it down? Like, how's my little cousin or my little sister going to know that what she's going through is not the first time our family has gone through that, if we're not speaking about it. So I think being vulnerable is extremely important, and I've learned that through this journey, because there's no other way that our stories are going to be told.
I mean, it's true, especially when it comes to the issues that we go through within our own families. I don't know what it is, but and this also came up in another interview that we did. I think it was our first one that we did with Fernando. And he talks a lot about this notion that what happens in the household stays in the household.
Oh yeah, sweep under the rug.
Yeah.
Oh, our family. Yeah, my family's known for that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like I think that's such a big thing in our culture that definitely has to change.
100%.
Because, like you said, people are struggling alone, not knowing that their grandmother or like people in their families have insight or can have an answer or something that can help them process what they're going through.
Because when you feel like you're the only one, like you're a little bit afraid to talk about it. You're like, oh my God, it's gonna be weird telling someone for the first time when you don't know that. It's probably generations have been through it, but no one's speaking it about it.
And then when you bring it up, it's like this casual, oh yeah, so-and-so was going through that too. And it's like, okay, when was I gonna know?
Right? You're like, you're sitting there holding all this in, thinking you're the only one, and when in fact you're not. And I think that was also important why I put it in the book. At first I'm like, I'm not a writer, I am a writer, but at the moment I didn't feel like I was. So I'm like, this is weird. Like, I don't know if people are gonna accept what I'm putting out there. And I'm like, am I gonna bring some shame to my family by telling the truth? But I'm like, no, let me just do it and see what happens from it. And I'm actually now writing the book in Spanish for my family members that don't speak English. So they can understand. It can be passed down to them.
Yes, that's amazing.
It's a lot harder than I thought, because translating poetry into a different language
to convey the meaning.
Yeah, to convey the meaning is not as easy as I thought, but I'm getting there.
The Spanish is such a romantic language, I feel like, in general.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't speak Spanish, but if I did, I feel like it would come across even more like
and no, 100. It is coming out more emotional. Like I shared it with like a friend already, and she's like, "Wow, this is different in Spanish. It's like a whole different book." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So
that's awesome.
I'm excited about that. I'm almost done. So.
Okay. Yes, but speaking of that, part of this initiative is us also trying to create a dialogue with local authors to get more insight as to like how their writing process is, the nitty gritty of it, to hopefully inspire other people who might think that I can't be an author or I'm not a writer. Yeah. So can you give us some insight as to maybe the things that you wish you knew before you started writing, or when you were actually in the works of publishing your book?
Sure. I think one of the hardest things I found was that I added a lot of artwork, if you noticed, and it took me a long time to like kind of create it. I wouldn't suggest putting so much artwork because it takes a lot of time. If you're gonna write, maybe get into a poetry book with minimal art. The artwork took me longer than the poetry. So I wouldn't suggest.
But it made it,
Yeah, it did.
What's worth it takes time.
Yeah, you're right about that. So my only advice, letting people know that it does take time to combine the poetry with the artwork. If not, it would have been easy. Just upload the book and I'll be done. But that kind of took me a long time. And I think don't be afraid to get. Sometimes I write my feelings and then I go back and I read it through and I'll edit it and see how. I can just like make it a little bit more, what's the wording? Relatable to people. Because sometimes I'm writing my feelings, I'm like, I don't know if people are going to relate to this. I try to make it a little bit more relatable to people. And that's the process that I use. And I write a lot of feelings and I go back and I calm it down.
Calm it down.
Oh, be raw.
I was going to say, we need the raw. Unedited.
And I think that's one of the positives of being indie published or self-published. is that a lot of times when you're traditionally published, it goes through a lot of hands.
You're right.
And, with being self-published, if you want to keep that raw, unfiltered, yeah, I mean, granted, all of us want commercial success when we publish. But if you're just writing just to reveal who you are and to speak about your journey, hopefully someone can relate to their journey, I think there's nothing wrong with,
Being
just
raw.
being what it is. Yeah,
No,
you take it or
100%.
leave it. It's not for you. Then, yeah.
You're 100% right on that.
Were there any technical details? Like, did you go through Amazon or Ingram to publish?
I went to Ingram and Draft 2 Digital, because that's what got me into Barnes & Noble. But yes, I did both. And definitely, while doing it, I think have your own ISBN number. Don't go up Amazon.
We've heard
because-
that
Yes.
too. Yeah.
because then you'll have a hard time getting to like Barnes & Noble. So I learned that as I was going through the process.
So beyond the writing itself, in the book you include many mental health and advocacy resources, like Jenna mentioned before, and you also started the Poetic Nectar Collective, as we talked about. Can you tell us more about the bigger picture of your work and the kind of community you hope to build through it? So expanding more on what you said earlier.
Sure. My hope is to create community through poetry, and like I created little rituals, writing rituals to Poetic Nectar, to get people to write in a creative way, because sometimes like just giving someone a notebook doesn't do it for them. So I'm like, oh, maybe we can plant our words and then, have a whole activity behind it. Or we can burn our words together. I think sometimes doing things in community helps, or you're doing something in a different creative way that, sparks something in your brain helps. But my goal is definitely to create a community behind this, to do events where I can get people to write and release and just come together creatively and to write.
And I know you started recently a mobile bookstore.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
It's been a process, but yeah, that's my goal, to have it's going to be mostly on like poetry and books that are, I guess, self-help books. And my goal is to have a performance stage, to have authors, poets perform their work. And that's what I hope, and travel throughout Florida doing it. So let's see.
I love that.
In addition to what you mentioned, just explain to anyone who might be watching as like what's next for you, where they can find you, if you have a website, and join the collective and ways to do that. Yeah.
So what's next for me, I hope to launch this mobile book club and performance stage. It's going to take a little while, but I'm pushing through. People can find me on Instagram through Poetic Nectar Collective, or my website, Poetic Nectar Collective. And I just hope to start doing workshops for people. Yeah, if you see me at the market, I'm always at markets around here. Come say hi. Don't be shy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us,
Thank you
Melba.
for having me. I love you guys.
I
Yes, we
love
love
you.
you
You're
too.
like such a cheerleader for us. And we really appreciate it.
Of course, I love you guys. I think what you're doing is amazing, and I can't wait to see you expand and have your own bookstore, because I envision that. I'm like, I can't wait to be in there.
I know.
Oh my God, same.
Bye.